Mr. Kinzinger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to point out I'm a veteran of Iraq. I spent a lot of time in Balad, and it's sad to see this gone now. I'll be honest with you all. I think with this, I mean, everybody's kind of not saying it, but what it seems like is the administration is just paralyzed. They just don't know what to do. There's this fear of getting involved in Iraq again and getting sucked into Iraq with this reality that the worst case scenario in the Middle East is playing out right before our eyes, and frankly, this administration bears some responsibility for that. I'd also like to remind folks that in America, we threw out the Articles of Confederation. We had Articles of Confederation. We threw them out and drew up our Constitution. Political solutions are not something that we can put in the microwave and expect to happen in a very short amount of time. This takes time. And what we're seeing right now with the encroachment and the growth of ISIS or ISIL, whatever you want to call it, is the worst case scenario. And therefore, this kind of narrative of we have to have a political solution before we do anything, I would much rather see a flawed Iraqi state in which we could then work a political solution than to see ISIS in a capitulated Iraqi state. Mr. McGurk, the chairman touched on this. Does a March 2014 request exist to the White House for what could be included as airstrikes?
I will go check on all the correspondence we've had.
You would know if a March 2014 letter was hand-delivered to the White House requesting assistance for the Iraqi government, correct?
I have a letter from May in which there's a very clear and specific request. I think a lot of correspondence before then, again, was not as
So you don't know of this existing. So you can get back to me if it exists, in fact, if there is
I'll
a March 2014.
I'll get back to you and go chapter and verse with all the correspondence we've had with the Iraqis on this question.
Okay. And then another question, we talk about we didn't have the intelligence picture, and as somebody that flew ISR, it's fairly easy to get that quickly. We should have had an intelligence picture from when the Iraqi government was asking us for assistance in August. That should have been the time at which we said, let's get this granular picture. But now we have it. So we have the official request in May. We have a granular picture now. What's the holdup? And I think what the answer is not so much that we're still waiting for a political solution. Again, I think it's this idea that the administration simply is paralyzed and doesn't know what to do. Meanwhile, that vacuum is being filled by Iran, by Russia providing equipment to the Iraqi government at a time when we're sitting around saying, well, I can't believe they're taking this assistance, but they're fighting for the survival of their very way of life. So this is time where we have to say, look, we're the United States of America with a very robust military capability. Surely we can have the intelligence if we decided that May was the time we were going to start looking at this. Surely in 3 months we could have figured out a picture and begun to get engaged at that point. I also want to talk about the issue of Hellfire missiles. A Hellfire missile has a warhead of 20 or 18 pounds, depending on what kind of a missile it is and what its target is. These Cessnas that have been retrofitted in Iraq, I don't know how many they can carry, but I guess it's not that many. An Apache helicopter carries, I think, 16 of these Hellfire missiles. The idea of an Apache helicopter, taking out an entire camp of ISIS or ISIL is unrealistic with 16 of these Hellfire missiles. So the idea of a Cessna with 1, maybe 2 Hellfire missiles being the thing that destroys these camps in Iraq is crazy. I think we need a robust airstrike campaign on behalf of the United States. When our troops on the ground get engaged in combat, we're very good. The Marines and Army are very good at fighting off the enemy. But the first thing they do is call for robust air support to help them win that engagement. This idea that the Iraqi military melted away or that the Iraqi military can take back ground with a Hellfire missile is unrealistic when our own troops, who are very well trained, who have a great background and know how to fight wars, call on A-10s, F-16s, B-52s, B-1s to come in and do close air support in order to retake ground. So I just am saying that I'm renewing the call to the administration for massive manned military airstrikes to push back this very, very bad cancer that's encroaching on the Middle East, and also to target those in Syria, to understand that the Syrians, they are a very good fighting force, ISIS, and they're getting their training in Syria and then spilling it out to the rest of the place. So I do appreciate you all's service to your country. I appreciate you being here. I know it's a tough time, but at that I yield back.